Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey, this is Craig Garber. You know me as host of the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, but when I'm not interviewing world-class guitar players, I'm busy helping clients with their marketing. In fact, since March of 2000, I've helped over 300 clients in 108 different industries all over the world sell everything from $20 books to $5,000 seminar seats and everything in between. I even authored a book about my experience called How to Make Maximum Money with Minimum Customers. Now, if you own or operate a business, ask yourself the following marketing-related questions and be honest with your answers. Are you generating fresh new qualified leads on a daily basis? Is your website generating enough sales? And if not, do you know why? Is your advertising effective? Is it predictably and reliably making you several multiples of what you're spending on it? And lastly, are you consistently communicating with your email list? Or do you have an email list of prospects and customers, but you have no idea what to say to them, how often to say it, or how to make money with this list? If you need solutions for these marketing problems, then you need to book a one-on-one marketing strategy session with me. After this strategy session, you'll know how to speak to and make money with your email list, how to use your website to attract customers and clients who are ready to buy from you now, and how to sell your goods and services for top dollar and at much higher profit margins than your competition. Listen, stop hoping things will get better on their own. Hope is not a very good business strategy. Instead, book a marketing strategy session with me by going to everyonelovesguitar.com/marketing and find out if your business meets the 5 criteria you need to qualify for this service. Again, that's everyonelovesguitar.com/marketing. Thanks for listening. Now let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and we got a really cool guitar player with us today. He's freezing right now up in Massachusetts, but in spite of that, he's weathering the cold and coming on the show. I'm with Robert Duke Levine. He was born and raised in Worcester, Mass., moved to Boston to study music, and he graduated from the New England Conservatory. In addition to releasing 5 records of his own on instrumental guitar, he divides his time between studio and the road. He's recorded and performed live with Mary Chapin Carpenter, Peter Wolf, Roseanne Cash, Leanne Womack, Jay Giles Band, Aimee Mann, Kathy Mattea, the Del Fuegos, Otis Rush, Boston Pops, Bono, and many others. TV appearances include The Late Show with David Letterman, The Tonight Show, The Late Show with Conan O'Brien, Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, CBS This Morning, Austin City Limits, the Grammy Awards, and Soundstage. And you can hear his playing on film scores such as Lone Star, The Opposite of Sex, Passion Fish, Sunshine State, Honey Dripper, and Music of the Heart. And he also appeared with the Jay Giles Band in the movie Grown Ups 2. Duke, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime, man.
Happy to do.
So tell me, what is the New England Conservatory? The only school I know up there is Berkeley.
Yeah.
Are they the same or what?
It's actually, they're real close geographically. They're kind of in the same neighborhood in Boston. New England Conservatory was always more of a classical music school, and they do have a small jazz department, and when I was deciding between the two, there was a guy I wanted to study guitar with that was at New England, a guy named Mick Goodrick, amazing jazz guitar player, and he was there, and it was also just a much smaller department. Like the jazz department, was like, I don't know, a tenth of their school, and it was a smaller school in general, and I'm glad I went there. I met a lot of some amazing players there, and some great teachers, and yeah, it was cool. And it's still there. It's a similar kind of thing, smaller school with a jazz department and something they call third stream, which was kind of a category that kind of took into account stuff that wasn't jazz, wasn't classical. It could kind of be anything.
That's cool. So it's kind of like the Montessori of...
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it was more of a classical school, so it was a heavy classical string players, all kinds of voice, strings, winds that would be looking to get a symphony gig afterwards, I guess.
Is that what you went to school for, to play classical guitar originally?
No, it was. I went to the jazz. I was in the jazz there, yeah. Yeah, the classical was not my thing.
I always, I'm intimidated talking to jazz players because I always feel you guys have a higher IQ. Because
yeah, it's true.
I love it.
The ones I know of, I never consider myself a jazz player. I didn't then, and I don't now. But I wanted to study. I wanted to study it and be around them.
Yeah, well, because they're so like just to understand all that stuff going on in jazz. Not that to discount anybody who doesn't study jazz, but I mean it's just a little more. It's like studying organic chemistry versus biology.
Yeah, and like a lot of people say, it's. I mean, it's no real dabbling in jazz. You're either and which is kind of what I did. I was playing in a country band when I went to school there, and I did study jazz with a private teacher growing up in my hometown, and I still work on stuff in that world and try to get better at it. But but at the time that was kind of the school thing to do, I guess, is to go somewhere with a jazz department. And there wasn't much, Berkeley even then probably didn't have that many other departments like it has now. Like they didn't have a music production department, I don't think, at that point. They have everything now.
What's interesting is that you said you were playing in a country band, and for people that are not from the Northeast, that is it's highly unusual that there's even, and this was 30 years ago probably when you were
this was in the 80s.
Yeah. So I mean, how did that evolve?
Yeah, up here, there wasn't as much of that. I always loved country music, when I had some, exposed to it growing up as a kid. And there was a little bit of a, it's funny, I think people forget, there was a little bit of a resurgence in the 80s of roots rock and probably the first, kind of, roots stuff, I guess, that was kind of country and rock and roll. There were bands like the Blasters and
a lot of stuff came out of like Atlanta. Americana started coming out of Atlanta, sort of that area.
Yeah, there was maybe some in Atlanta, but the West Coast, especially like the Blasters, Los Lobos,
right?
And they weren't strictly country music, but there were others. There was a band called the Blood Oranges that were based around here. Jason and the Scorchers,
right?
They were
right.
like more rock and roll, but still there was this acknowledgement that there was country music, and bands that were getting signed to major labels, Lone Justice. So anyways, there was a little bit of that awareness, but I just loved the stuff, and I formed a band that we played like classic 60s, honky tonk stuff, just because I loved it.
That's cool, man. I'd have to tell everybody, Duke is sitting in front of a 1963 Vox AC30, which I almost don't want to talk to him. I just want to listen to the.
I'll get out of the way. So you can see.
Oh man, it's in great shape, man. I mean, it looks like terrific. Holy smokes. Hey, so you've played with some really cool people, and I was wondering maybe for each of these artists, if you could talk about how you got the gig and the nature of what you're doing, maybe a cool or fun story about working with them, and also if you learned any lessons or takeaways out of this. And let's just start with Peter Wolf and Jay Giles. I mean,
sure.
we both grew up with those guys, man.
Totally. With Pete, I've been playing with probably since the late 90s. I had met him. I knew him a little bit from around Boston. And he basically goes out to hear music all the time. He goes out to the local clubs. He's always interested in what's going on. So he's really accessible and kind of available to the musical community around here. But when it came time, I had recently met a great musician in New York, a piano player and songwriter, Kenny White. And he was producing Pete's record at the time. And he suggested that they get me for the record. And Pete knew me a little bit and heard me play and thought it was a good idea.
From playing from around town.
Yeah, from around town. I actually auditioned for him years before when he was first putting together a solo band.
Very cool.
And didn't end up doing it, but he knew about, and had heard my records too. So he knew who I was. And that was a record called Fool's Parade. And we didn't tour after that record. I don't think he did much at all. And then, but I basically ended up playing on all his records and touring with him since then. And I guess I'm the band leader of his band as well. So
that's awesome, man.
A pretty close working relationship with Pete. And also, I guess 10 years ago, they added a guitar player to the Jay Giles band. So I ended up doing that band as well. That band hasn't played in a couple years now, but yeah, so pretty fun all around.
So you're out like with Jay Giles. Does it seem weird almost like just in the early shows?
It's totally weird.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're playing those tunes. I mean, it's, I think with anyone I've played with that you grew up listening to,
All right.
it's surreal to me because like you're on stage and you're playing the song and you're hearing the voice. It's just, it's wild, you know, I never take it for granted. It's definitely and with Giles, they're obviously really big in Boston, but they were huge in Detroit always still. And to play with them in Detroit is a thing. And the first time I did it, playing at a cool, big, huge club. I don't know if that was the first time, but and you know, you smell weed and you're playing the music.
It's like there. Being at a concert when you're a kid, right?
It's on a time machine, and that's as close as I'm going to get.
That is so funny, man. Yeah, it's funny because my older son is 27, and we've been going to shows, I don't know, 10 years, and you know, we go to concerts, and he's like, Dad, smell all that weed, and it's so funny, you know. And then
that's what it used to be like.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, you know. And then we were at a show and someone's passing weed around, and so my son takes a hit and he goes, "Do you want some, Dad?" No, I'm just not there. I wouldn't. It's awkward for me to even think of doing that with my son. I mean, he wouldn't care. But it's just too weird for me, you know. And then because it's I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if you have kids, but it's just it's a weird thing.
I don't. Well, it's funny. My brother, you know, I have older brothers that played music, and my folks took me to see my brother playing in the college coffee house. This was, you know, early 70s. I was probably 10.
Right.
And they were literally passing a joint on stage. And I guess I kind of knew what it was.
You were 10?
Yeah, probably. I'm the youngest 5. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was one of my first experiences with that. It's like, oh, cool.
That is so funny. I mean, that's a great story. All right, Aimee Mann.
Aimee Mann came about. One of my oldest friends and guys I played with a lot and played in my band for a while. His name is Paul Bryan. He was an amazing bass player, and he was playing with Aimee, and he was doing a record that he called me to play on with her, and that's how I played with her. He said he still plays with her and produces her records. This was a Christmas record.
She does. Okay.
And we made it, you know, in the summer in L.A. and with Paul and our friend Jay Belrose, an amazing drummer who's out in L.A. as well. And it was really nice. And we did a tour for the record, a Christmas show that was really fun.
Out in L.A. or all over?
We did like a few West Coast states and a few East Coast, and she had comedians as well on the show, which was pretty fun.
Besides you,
she had Fred Armisen on a few of the shows, and John C. Reilly was on a few of the shows.
That guy's hilarious.
Who else? A guy named Paul Tompkins, who's really funny, who was in a Mr. Show. I don't know if you ever remember that show.
No.
So it was very fun and great band. And we did do, I think I did another one of her gigs, and we did do some of her stuff that wasn't her Christmas stuff.
That's really nice. Cool, man. What is there a different vibe being on the West Coast, like musically, in the audience?
On gigs? Not necessarily. I mean, in LA maybe.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, but you know, I find less of that now. In New York as well. I think there used to always be a vibe where people would always have a hard time playing in New York, you know, like people from anywhere.
Oh,
like
really?
They go to New York, and, you know, I'm talking maybe 20, 25 years ago, just because it was, I don't know, it was just you know, the audience, it was hard to get people out maybe, you know, and now I find less of that. There's less of, you know, I find when we play in New York, there's just regular people at the shows that want to hear music, and it's not so much industry kind of showcase. I mean, there are those places, but in LA as well. But I think it depends on the music. You know, what we play with Wolf anywhere doesn't matter. People are just, you know, people.
Sure.
have an association with him, and he's an amazing performer, and they have fun, and they can dig the music, and I don't find that much of a difference.
Interesting. That's cool. Because I know, like, and again, this is probably showing my age, but as a New York guy growing up in New York, I've only been out to the West Coast once or twice, and it's always been, I just find it a different vibe out there.
Well, it is that, yeah. It's different.
I'm like, just I don't get. I don't under. I feel like I don't. I'm like inmates are. And please, I know everybody. I have a lot of nice listeners out there, but it's just a weird feeling. It's almost like the inmates are running the asylum out there, and it's just because I don't understand what it's like. I don't. It just seems weird. We're so direct in New York when you.
Oh, there is that. Yeah, it's different than that.
Yeah,
and I never. I've gone out there to work a couple times and. Or tour, and I have some of my oldest friends live out there, so my association with it is that I get to see my old friends and I get to have fun, and I'm a little bit oblivious to the rest of it, I guess.
Right, because you got a mission.
But you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not New York, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was there a couple of times. It just seems everybody's very preoccupied with being somebody else, like an actor or an actress or whatever.
That's one of the complaints that some of my friends have out there that are in the play music. There's definitely that, I guess. But for me, it's like I haven't come in direct contact with it that much. So
sure.
And people I know that work out there, are great, and I love them.
Yeah. I think a lot of it's what you used to, too, because, like, again, my wife's from a small town in the UK, and I brought her home to, like, not home, but I took her through the Bronx where I grew up a few times, and she's like, scared shitless. I'm like, why? There's so many there's so many people here. You have nothing to be afraid of. You stick me in the middle of the country, that scares the crap out of me, because I'm like, where's everybody? Anyway, Otis Rush. Talk about a legend, man.
Yeah, that was amazing. I was pretty young. I probably had no business playing with him, but he was. There was a guy who was he was kind of the band leader for this tour. He was a piano player named Kenny Vangel who booked the band, and one was like a couple weeks over in Europe with Otis, and then we did another one or two tours that were package tours with Otis Rush and a guy named Big J McNeely, amazing tenor, jump blues tenor player, and
is that related to Rob?
So Kenny hired me for that. We had some mutual friends, I guess, and it was amazing. Otis was really generous and made everybody feel comfortable. He sounded great. He was encouraging. Wanted me to play. And all that. It was great. And I have a feeling he was a bit not in his comfort zone being over in Europe, perhaps. But a lot of those guys spend a lot of time over there.
Yeah,
it's a necessary thing, and we did like the festival circuit. But it was great. He sounded amazing. I couldn't believe the first time I went over there. He had checked. He had two 345s. That's what he played, the stereo with the chords still and all that, and he played lefty. He had two. He checked them on the plane just in the regular Gibson case. He would they'd come off the belt and amazingly.
Oh my!
It's like my Gibsons. So you can look at them and they'll break. It's just
wow. And everything was cool. They flew to Europe unscathed. Two of them.
Yeah.
And it's a lefty guitar too. It's not like you can get if it breaks. There's 100 of them. In holy crap! Was this your first time in Europe, touring Europe professionally?
That wasn't. No, the first time I went over, I think, was with a guy named Bob Moses, who's an amazing jazz drummer, composer, and actually played in his band. I met him at New England Conservatory, and ended up playing in his band. He had like a world beat kind of band. I ended up playing with him for about 3 or 4 years, and that was the first time I went over. We did a few festivals with his thing.
That's cool, man.
That was probably late 80s.
Watching Otis, or being around him, was there anything you were able to learn playing-wise as a musician?
You can't learn that. I wish there was, but it just, just being there was just being around it and witnessing it firsthand is a great experience. I had some, obviously working, I was playing blues like anybody would, like at that point, which was the late 80s. But I probably know more. I feel like I know more about the music and now than I did then, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, obviously getting to be on stage with one of the greats of all time was amazing.
Yeah. And I'm surprised that he hadn't been to Europe before that.
He had, I'm sure he had.
Okay.
But I just think it was just not a comfort zone. You know, a lot of people just don't travel great.
Yeah. Most musicians I talk to, though, they enjoy, they say that over there in places like Europe and Japan that you're more respected. Like, you know, here in the States, it's more like, what have you done for me lately? Mm-hmm. Whereas, and if you haven't done anything for me lately, you're kind of like, your records are in the cutout bin and,
sure,
you know, or whatever, you know, digital.
Oh, yeah.
But they said over there, it's like, if you've done something that's a good piece of work, you're honored and respected for that work. It's not like, you know, the lately thing. It's not like if you haven't done anything recently, you're done. Right.
It's always been a place where they, you know, a lot of times revered the American music more than over here. All jazz musicians have been going over there forever.
Yeah.
As you know, Europe and Japan especially. All American music is so appreciated. At least it always was. And then of course there's certain other, you know, pop artists or you're right. If people like your work, you kind of have an audience there for life.
Yeah, that's what everybody really likes going over there. And they said because there's so many, you know, there's more clubs, you know, so many clubs have died here because of, you know, people are into their cell phones here.
Right.
And everybody still enjoys, or a lot more people, I guess, enjoy music there. So there's more opportunities to make money in clubs, that I was told.
Well, that's good to know. I haven't been over in a while to work, but yeah, I mean, it's good to know. And there's pockets too, like I know in Norway, in Sweden, Finland they love American roots rock, roots music, and it's like a little pocket. Even just Norway itself. I've been there before, where it was little. They actually have societies that, like roots rock clubs and societies that just they revere this. They revere the stuff.
Do you know a guy named Red Volkart?
We don't know each other, but I'm a fan.
Okay,
he's amazing.
He's a wonderful human being, and
yeah, we have some mutual friends, but
great guy, and we had a really long conversation. I actually think it was early this week, or in the last week or so. But he does a lot of work over in Finland and Norway.
Yeah,
that you said and he's you know, he likes it over there. It's beautiful, and he does a ton of work there. So I think that is a pocket.
Yep.
Bono, how did that come to be?
So Bono was one event for the Boston Pops here in Boston. It was during the Democratic National Convention here. So I don't know when that was. I think it was in the 90s, I guess, or maybe around 2000. No, I don't remember exactly the year. It was an event for Ted Kennedy here. And it was not one of the usual shows, but they had I had done the Pops a couple times with a couple different artists, and I knew one of the arrangers. So he called and he wanted to hire me for these. Like, we have Bono coming to do 2 songs, and I want to get you to play the electric for it. They also have their own rhythm section, you know, trap drums and keyboard and electric bass. But he called me in to just do that. It was Bono. Not only was Bono, it was Bono with Yo-Yo Ma.
Yeah.
And John Williams conducting.
Wow.
And he who had conducted the Pops in years past, but hadn't for a long time. So it was a special event. And we did one song that was the song from the Gangs of New York. They had it was like a ballad. It wasn't one of their songs that's better known. And then we did Pride.
Oh, that's cool.
Nightclub, which was really cool. Yeah. So I got to play that. And the funny story from that one was, you know, we did a rehearsal. And, you know, of course, it's all arranged, conductor. And Bono turns to the band. It's like, after the second chorus, we're going to just vamp. I'm going to just talk. And he's telling John Williams. John Williams didn't even blink. He's okay. Vamp. What up? All right. And he's like, and then drummer, I'm going to point at you and you play the big fill and we'll go back into the chorus. I was like, this is like, it's still a rock band for him. It's like, wow, cool. And it did work. The drummer did not necessarily get the cue, as he said, but it was pretty funny.
That is cool. So did you get to talk with him at all, or chat with him briefly?
No,
or
really. He was really nice. He was really friendly in the rehearsal and very energetic. And yeah, I mean, you know, there's 80 people on stage.
Yeah. You said one thing, I didn't know what that was. You said a trap drum. What is that?
Well, traps, drum kit, I guess.
Oh, okay. Just drum kit. Okay. You've done some major film score here. Do you pursue that work, or were they like one-offs where somebody knew you and they came to you? Because this is
there's actually a friend of mine here in Boston who most of the stuff I've done is the stuff he's been composer on, like a lot of those films. His name is Mason Daring, and he also started a small label when he quite a while ago, and he's the guy that put out a few of my records as well on his little label. But yeah, a lot of that was due to him. You know, he would hire me for his scores, and also how I got some tunes in movies. Sometimes, you know, the movie he was working on would need a song, and since he had a record of my stuff, you know.
Okay. So he just put one of your songs on.
Yeah, or he'd get it. You know, he'd get him to bite on a couple tunes from the records.
This seems like one of the few aspects of the music business where there's still room to make what they would call, I guess, old school money.
Yeah, I think so. Potentially. You know, there's not, being in Boston, there's, you know, it's on industry town.
Yeah.
And so to have somebody like him doing some movie scoring was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I think about it now, probably one of the reasons, you know, I never felt like I needed to relocate between being on the road a lot. And, you know, there was sessions here, there's film sessions. I think it is lucrative. I think from what I hear from my friends that do it is that in the digital age, in the digital editing age of the last 15 or so years, maybe more, that people want more music on the movies, and maybe they don't pay more, but it's like, it's more work for the composer, I think, than it used to be. Yes, I'm sure there's definitely work, probably more in LA and New York.
Yeah. LA and Nashville for sure.
Nashville too, of course. And, you know,
LA and Nashville seems like
where everyone is.
Yeah. It's funny, I was there like 2 months ago, man. It's like Orlando, Florida for traffic. It's like,
oh, it's crazy.
It was really hectic, man. Really busy. It's
amazing the amount of people that are moving there every day.
Is Boston crowded?
Yeah, Boston's a little more crowded than it used to be. I mean, just judging from traffic and that stuff.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to have changed that much. I can't tell. There's only so many. There's not a huge amount of new building. I mean, in the city itself there is, but we're just outside of town. It seems like it's remained about the same.
Yeah. One thing about Boston, I've only been there once, I think, when I was a kid. Maybe twice. I was really impressed because it was so clean.
Oh,
it was and remember, I grew up in the 70s in New York City, which was it was it was disgusting. I mean, literally disgusting. So like, I just remember walking down streets and like, where's all the litter? Wow, this is, it was just a clean place, and people really took care of, the people that were there didn't, you didn't find used condoms on the sidewalk, you didn't find trash and broken bottles.
Yeah, it's a relatively easy city to live in.
Yeah.
Even if you're living in this, again, we live close enough, but it's easy. It's not as big as New York or Chicago, but it's pretty easy.
And when you think about how many universities are there, which means there's tons of, sort of part-time or transient-ish people, that it is so clean is really even more impressive,
Yeah.
So what are you working on now, Duke, that you're most excited about?
What I'm working on now is purely for my own enjoyment.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it is. There's no, it might be a record at some point, but put together a show that's all instrumental stuff from the set, and it's all 70s music, which is I'm reliving my youth. Some of it's like existing instrumental tunes, a few, but more arrangements of tunes from that era.
Like
let me see, what was some of it? Like At 17, the Janis Ian song.
Yeah, sure.
So that was one of my initial. The concept was kind of, all right, what if at 17, what if Jeff Beck made a version of that for Blow by Blow?
Wow.
That was one of my. That's one concept, and so trying to like transform it a little bit. Sometimes some of the tunes are just fun to play. What else? We're doing some obscure ones, and there's actually a tune. It was just kind of a lot of it was what I liked growing up. There's I don't know if you know who David Grisman is. Great mandolin.
He played
player.
with Jerry Garcia.
He did, yeah. He played with Jerry Garcia, and he put out a record in the 70s that was kind of, to me, one of the first of that newgrass, like what, kind of Bela Fleck.
Yeah.
A lot of that, Jerry Douglas kind of came from that. I think, maybe they were around at the same time, but it was a David Grisman quintet. And Tony Rice was the guitar player, amazing bluegrass guitar player. And it was this kind of jazz bluegrass I'd never heard before. And there's a tune from that record we're doing, like an instrumental kind of rock version of. So it's kind of all over the place. We're doing a version of the Lord's Prayer.
Whoa.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
It's horrible. Not the Lord's Prayer, it's horrible.
No, I actually remember that. It was on pop. It was on on AM radio originally, or early FM perhaps.
I will encourage you to YouTube it for the video.
Okay.
And you will never be the same. When I was searching for this thing, I just was like, I want to see that. I just want to hear that song. I wasn't interested in doing it, but I was like, I remember that song was so weird. Let me see if it really existed. And of course it did. And I'm listening to it. It's like, oh, I think I can find something in here to do. So
you did you've done a version of that. What is it? Rock, jazz?
That particular tune?
Particular redo.
It's kind of like spy jazz. My version of that.
You should
low
do like
tremolo guitar and it segues into another weird song from that time, which is Tubular Bells.
Yeah, by Mike Oldfield.
The Exorcist.
Right. And that was a great tune, man.
Yeah, and there's a really amazing band that I'm doing this with. And
you're playing that on guitars, that lead?
Yeah, it's just a riff, really. It's like it's kind of like a couple things playing, I guess, this riff. So we kind of made an arrangement out of it where it's a little bit of a feature for the bass and for the drummer in the band who plays some amazing stuff on it.
That's really cool, man. And you know what? Your posters, I even made a comment on there the other day.
Posters the best, right?
That Mod Squad, oh my God, that was the shit, man. I love that.
We did one so far. The first poster is a friend of mine, Jim Haggerty, who's a great bass player here, did the posters. The first one was had HR Puffin stuff.
That's so funny.
So I think it got people to come to the gig.
But, absolutely.
Really fun, and it's not, what could be goofy. Some of it could border on it, but mostly it's trying to make some music from that stuff.
Hey, just the fact that you have posters, you don't see that often,
Yeah, I know.
And you remember the old days where they have like Rick Griffin and all those West Coast guys would have the really cool art, right? And that definitely got people, Fillmore East, Fillmore West kind of shit.
Yeah.
That got people coming to shows. So I believe it, man. Very cool, man. You're originally from Worcester, you said. What was your childhood like growing up? You said you're the youngest of 5. That must have been, God bless your parents.
Yeah, so I was the youngest of 5, and all my brothers played guitar, basically. So, my sister's, I'm closest to my sister a couple years, so we kind of got a guitar around the same time. But, there was a guitar around the house. I always say my brother Rick played a lot of acoustic and a lot of finger picking kind of stuff at the time. And I remember picking up the guitar and feeling like I could play it, but I realized later it was an open tuning.
Oh,
so I could just do nothing, and it sounded
cheating.
Like so they kind of got us started, and taught us some chords, and also I probably started around age 8 or 9, and right around that time, maybe when I was 10, my brother Rick had a full-time band that rehearsed at the house.
Wow,
Like
that's
they
really
built their
cool.
little practice room in the basement. So like, I could hear a real band playing all day.
That's
And
awesome.
it was a great guitar player who I later ended up playing with, a guy named Walter Crockett, who I ended up playing with his band after I got out of high school. But it was a kind of a firsthand learning experience.
And for people who live in Florida, a basement is something that they have up north, and it's like a big room underneath the house.
That's where I am now.
How was there always were your parents musicians, or like?
Not really. As much as like a lot of people from that generation might have played a little bit. My mom could play a little piano, but not really musicians. But my brothers having grown up really in the '60s, and everybody was getting turned on to music and guitar
And weed, apparently.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so they were all playing, and also I had the benefit of listening to their record collection.
Yeah,
which was great.
That is really cool, man. That's nice. What kind of work did your folks do?
They did. My dad sold printing back when you could do that, and my mom took care of the kids. And then when I was about 12 or so, she went back to school with a friend of hers, and
that's cool.
Or went to school. She got her master's in social work, and then had a career doing that.
That's really cool. She became a therapist or something like that.
Well, more social work, which was really dealing with families,
right?
Troubled families. Man, that's really, boy, that's hard work.
It is hard work.
And but that was what she wanted to do, and yeah, she had a kind of career after the kids grew up.
That's really cool, man. So.
Yeah.
When did you start? When did you know you wanted to play professionally?
I guess when I got out of I was in a band all through junior high and high school. We had a band that actually gigged on the weekends and actually played a lot. Before, I always say I think I learned so much without even knowing it. Like we actually got gigs. By the end, we had a manager who bought a school bus. We had a bus and our own PA and lights. And
in junior high school?
In high school, we played through junior high, and by the time I was like a junior in high school, I think we had the bus, and of course all our friends wanted to be the road crew, so like, yeah, it was like a real experience, and so I don't know how much I made the decision before that, but when I graduated from high school, like this guy Walter Crockett, who I mentioned, who played with my brother's band, was just starting a band with his wife. And they started a trio, and he wanted me to play with them, and it was a full-time thing. So like right out of high school, that's what I did, and played with them. They eventually expanded the band. I played with them for 4 years, full-time.
Oh, wow.
And then, regionally, mostly, you probably remember, live music was one of the things that anyone did. So I mean, every little town had a bar, and, we were playing mostly original music, but, you could play 5, 6, 7 nights a week, if just in New England.
You ever play Toad's Place?
Yes.
That's a cool place, isn't it?
I have. Yeah, it's still there, I think. In New Haven.
Yeah, in New Haven, right, yeah. Right. So you were like gigging professionally and getting great experience at a really young age.
Yeah. Like I say, we just were doing it. We didn't.
Yeah, you didn't think about it.
Yeah, playing covers.
When did you go to school?
So then I played with this band Crockett for 4 years, and then stopped doing that, and maybe kind of played around for about a year or so around hometown, and just decided I wanted to, I wanted to go to music school. So
you were a little bit of an older student yourself, not older, but comparatively,
taken the time and done a bunch of playing, and I think I was good. I think because when I went to music school, I really wanted to. Not that I wouldn't have right out of high school, but I wasn't thinking about that at then. And I always think about it now. It's like, who really knows what they want to do? I mean, luckily I played guitar, and I almost didn't make a conscious decision, but I just wanted to do it. But if I didn't do that, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know what kid knows what they want to do coming out of high school, You
were probably much more appreciated by your teachers coming in with that experience than, the kids just out of high school. And
yeah, possibly. They didn't act like it. I'm kidding. But no, they were all the teachers I had there were really cool.
Yeah.
And I think there's a range. There was some amazing, like you get at some of those places, some amazing musicians that are just going to be amazing no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know John Medeski. Met John. He was there when I was there. Just some, just players that are just going to explode no matter what. So there's that, and there's a range, and not everybody's on the same level, but yeah, I'm not sure that I feel like I had more of a sense of stuff than some. There's always some drummers that don't want to take the theory course, and
Sure.
don't take to it, or some musicians that just don't. But I had already kind of had a bunch of that between high school actually and the teacher I studied with, before all that. So I guess when it came time to like music theory courses, I kind of had a leg up maybe at that point.
Were you the only one of your sister and your three brothers that pursued that music academically and professionally?
Yeah. My sister actually had a brief career too. She had like a punk band and she played around town a little bit. But yeah, I'm the only one that kind of made it, that kind of go of it. But my oldest brother is a vintage guitar dealer. I will tell you this now. It's pretty amazing. He's been doing it for 30, 35 years. So he's kind of in a different plane, but kind of in the business,
That's really, he must have been able to help you a lot with like making guitar. No, decisions about, hey.
It's like, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a dangerous thing too, of course, because he's like, hey,
yeah,
Duke, I got one of these in here.
He's in a lot of the players around the country know him, and he's a great dude. And so that's a fun other thing. But yeah, he was always interested. He did some learned guitar repair when he was younger, and then he just loves it. And he opened up a place, and he's still he's in Teaneck, New Jersey.
Where's his place? Teaneck. What's his name? What's the name of his? What's his?
It's called Lark Street Music.
There you go. Shout out to Lark Street Music. And this is Rick Levine.
That's Buzz.
Buzz Levine.
He's the oldest. I'm the youngest. We both got the nicknames.
See, I was gonna say, do you all have that's
just us two.
So all right, since you brought it up, how'd you get the nickname Duke?
So I got the nickname, we used to go on vacation in the summers to Cape Cod, and usually after dinner, my dad would hold court and tell stories that somehow always started with Captain Hook. Like there was always some scenario. It was a Captain Hook story he was going to tell. I don't know why that was such a big touchstone then. But anyways, and anyone who was in the room became a character in the story. So he'd incorporate, if we had friends or if we had, cousins or whatever. And I was the Duke all the time.
Oh, so that's
story. So then, I don't know if he started calling me that or my brothers started calling me that. And I never liked it. I really didn't. I never liked it. And I never used to call myself that. And finally, I think it was around the time I graduated high school, I finally just gave up and I started calling myself that because no one knew who I was otherwise. Everybody called me that.
Oh, that's really cool. Your dad sounds like a cool guy.
He was an awesome guy.
That's awesome, man. Great. Let me ask you this. You've been at this a while and maybe you haven't made the mistakes, but were there any, if you're comfortable talking about maybe one or two mistakes you made during your career that you learned really valuable lessons from?
I saw that. I did try to think about it, and I'm sure I've made some mistakes. I guess one of my thoughts about that is I'm not sure that there's. I mean, you learn. I learn all the time, and I guess I look at it more of as a progression, like doing this at all. Like I'm not sure there was one point. I guess might have consciously said this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to do, but I guess if there's one thing I've learned, I feel like that there's an unpredictability that's built into doing this. Like I don't think you can always do this thing and get this result, and that's so in that way I'm not sure. I don't think there's always a right or wrong way of doing anything. if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense for both ways.
Players. Oh, sorry.
It makes sense both ways. There's an unpredictability, like in the sense that you think this is going to be great and it's not, or you can do something that, whoa, this shit took off. I wasn't expecting that.
Right.
Yeah, I totally get that.
It's like I always say, I don't think I've ever gotten a gig that I've done a formal audition for.
Okay.
Which is very strange when I look back. I hadn't done that many, but I've done a few. And the gigs that I have gotten that were great gigs came about because someone recommended me or someone heard me. And it's just interesting, and I think also some of the gigs I auditioned for when I was younger, I was really, really wanted to get. I auditioned for John Hyatt a long time ago. And it was, I didn't know much anything. I don't know if I had been to Nashville before. It was in Nashville. It was like I think he auditioned guitar players for a couple weeks. Like, oh, wow. I think everyone in town and guys who played on the record auditioned. But I think I had a connection. There was a guy who was tour managing him that was from Boston, and somebody knew, kind of hooked up that way. And I think at one point he actually tried to cancel it because I think they had too many people. And I was like younger, and I was like, no, man, I'm going to be down there anyways. I was doing that thing. Say whatever you need to say to get in the door, He said, oh, okay. And I went down. I stayed with a good friend of mine and did it and, had that experience and didn't get the gig, which a lot of people didn't. But it's just interesting, and like I said, when I got the gig with Mary Chapin, who I ended up playing with for a long time, that came about. I got a call one day because her managers had heard me playing with another band. So never would have, not somebody on my radar at the time. I knew who she was, and she was, pretty big at the time, but not anyone I was ever trying to devise a way to feel how to get that gig or.
No, I've heard that answer or versions of that a couple of times, like, or a version of like, I don't really know if it's a mistake because it got me here. And so is it a mistake or, it's like, I was married at a young age and got divorced. Is that a mistake? Well, I don't know. I've been with my wife 25 years. So if I hadn't have done that, so I get that. I totally get it, man. Yeah. I totally get it.
And I think my nature, I think, is to kind of go with the flow and see what happens.
Well, you seem like a very forgiving guy. No, you do, like forgiving of yourself. Like you don't seem like the kind of person that's going to like beat the shit out of yourself.
Not hard. That's true.
Yeah, which is really like a lot less pressure.
Yeah, the less pressure, and I feel like I've been amazingly lucky to get some great opportunities playing music in that way, and it hasn't been from trying to force the issue.
Yeah.
It's all, and what I, if I tell anybody, younger guys that ask, I always felt like the one thing that's totally in my control is to get better at playing. And that's something I have control of. And anything else, I feel like it's a little out of my hands. We can take steps to try to make it happen. You can go to, you can move to LA, you can move to New York, you can move to Nashville, and that's all what you should do. But it's, other than that, I feel like, and I think, like you say, a lot of people you talk to say the same thing. I think it's a little bit of, it just kind of, it happens or it doesn't, or you just try to get as good as you can and get out there and hopefully, people hear you and recommend you for a gig.
So let me ask you this. What you just said as far as understanding what you're in control of and taking responsibility for that and just not taking on anything else, which is really smart. Were you always like that, or is that something that, because that's a very liberating.
Yeah. Maybe I realized it a little later. But I guess I did take steps to, further, my kind of career, and going to music school was one of them, even though I knew I didn't necessarily, the goal wasn't to get a degree, although I graduated. But what happened was you meet people, and it brought me to Boston. I moved from Worcester, which is about an hour away. I commuted for a couple of years and I moved to Boston. And once I was here, and, just the people I met around school. Some of those people I still work with today.
That's great.
And it's just, yeah, so that was a step I definitely took without moving to Nashville, New York. You know, it's one thing you do where you're doing something proactively besides just, you know, like I say, getting as good as you can and playing with different people. But luckily I got, you know, even then I got to play with some people that, you know, like it all leads to other things, hopefully.
But that also was the, you know, thing in your control. You just said what's in your control,
Right.
how good of a player you are. So those things that you were taking were very much in line with maximizing that, optimizing that thing
Yes.
you are in control of, which is becoming a better player. So
Right.
it was like very hand in hand as far as that goes. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. That's something I wish I learned earlier, is to just let things go with the flow. I think it's just so much less stressful, man.
Well, I'm kind of that way by nature, like I say.
Yeah, that's great.
But I have had, like, you know, younger kids ask me, oh, how did you do this? And how did you get that gig? How did you do this? And, you know, I always tell them, it's like, there's no button you can push to me to do that. You know, you can take some steps to increase the likelihood, I guess. But I never had a plan or a prescription for it. And I think I will say some of the younger kids I meet, they want an answer for everything. And that's not bad to want an answer, because, you know, you want to learn and you want to find out as much as you can. But I feel like with what a lot of us do and being sidemen and playing music, I don't think there's an easy answer for any of it. I think you just kind of get out there and try to get as good as you can and hope people notice.
You mentioned Sidemen. Have you seen that movie?
I did see some of it, that one that just came out.
Yeah. I was curious what your thoughts are on the whole.
I was hoping it was going to be a little more diverse and a little more about, it felt like it was a little more like guys that join bands as sidemen.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be, if there was one thing, and it was mostly in the kind of metal and pop thing, which is cool. And I thought it was interesting what was on there, but I was hoping it would be a little more, have some other stories, you know, maybe some studio players. Rob he
he was really funny. He goes, he was talking about Kenny Aronoff. He goes, man, that guy's fucking loud.
For a second, I know.
Yeah. It was quite funny.
Things, but
it was kind of like a movie about Liberty DeVito.
Yeah.
It was like
it was like Billy Joel, and then like the metal stuff.
Yeah, with Megadeth. Yeah,
and I'm interested by any of that.
Yes,
but and I think with any of those movies, I think there's only so much you can do too. You know,
well, they had an angle there, and their angle was to their angle was, you know, look at these guys, they're exploited. But the other side of it is, and most of the guys that I've spoken to are like, look, we go into this, we know we're not part of the band. We know we're getting paid, and it's up to us to make sure we have a plan B, at C, D, and E after that. And if we don't, that's our freaking fault, not.
Yeah, that angle is that didn't really ring true to me.
Yeah.
You know, because that's that's what you do. You know, that it's always like that. You never know where, you know, I don't know where we're gonna, if I have work in a few months. I mean, I hopefully will, but you know,
it's the nature of what you do. Yeah. So I was just, I'm not a good guy for victimization anyway. That's not really,
right.
I don't think.
Yeah. Plus, it's like, well, it's a pretty good gig for anybody. And there's plenty of people that don't get those gigs.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Totally, man. So yeah, I was just curious. Let's talk about gear for a few minutes. I'm assuming you're a vintage guy.
I am.
Why is that? Why do you like vintage over modern?
I just like the whole thing about them. I think the stuff I have it's the sound I love. And you know, I've played new guitars that were great, and I don't necessarily have anything against it, but I just find more enjoyment for some reason from old guitars and amps.
Can you maintain them?
Myself?
Yeah, for the most part.
I can do a little bit, but there's a couple, you know, we have a couple great guitar techs here in Boston that are, and so yeah, anything major, you know, I'll bring to somebody. I can do little intonation and like little neck tweaks here and there. but yeah, and hopefully a lot of the stuff is pretty stable in my room here. This last couple months, stuff went wacky. Guitars that generally stay in one place moved a little, but
because of the sudden drop in cold weather, or
I don't know. It's the moisture content or the cold or everything just kind of getting wacky. But I also think some of the best instruments, they seem to be pretty stable. Like a lot of the guitars, even if it's a great guitar, I won't take it out maybe sometimes for a year, and it's not completely out of whack. It's still kind of solid.
So what's your go-to guitar now? What other two might round out your top three?
Well, my main guitar for a long time was my 53 Tele. Right now it's a little.
By the way, that's. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. That's Red Volkart's guitar.
53.
53 Tele. Yeah.
There's something about the 53s. I gotta say, and I'm not. I've played a bunch of them now, and they seem to be all pretty good. The ones I've played all are kind of in this ballpark of being as good as the next one or better.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's so. This one, speaking of maintaining them, needs some work right now. I have a relic, a Tele that Fender made one called a 53 Relic for a short time, and I wanted one to. If I was on the road, I might not have to worry about as much. And that's actually a really good guitar. It feels like my old one, and it sounds really good. So it plays really in tune. I've been playing that one a bunch lately. I have a 63 Tele that I've been playing again a lot lately. Besides that, I've been playing Les Pauls again. I hadn't in a long time.
What are you playing?
Really enjoying. I have a historic Les Paul, standard Sunburst. That there's a guy named Dave Johnson. Do you know about this guy?
Dave Johnson from Elton John's band? No, that's Johnston.
That was Davey Johnson. This guy is a one-man operation, and he takes historic Les Pauls and makes them as more close to a real vintage 59 as he possibly can.
So he puts PAFs in there, or his version.
It doesn't have PAFs, but that would have been above my pay grade.
Yeah.
But somebody had him do it to this guitar. He actually slightly recarves the top, as he says, and he put a Brazilian rosewood fingerboard on it.
Oh wow!
He does a whole trip and refinishes it and ages it a little bit. Not drastically. He had done this to this guitar before I bought it, and it's a great one. I really like playing it a lot.
So it's is it a 58 reissue or 59?
It's funny. It was actually a 58 initially, and he also recarved the neck to make it feel a little more like a 59.
Which has a slimmer neck?
It's just a little smaller. I think the Gibson 58 Les Paul reissues, to me, I've had a couple. They have really, really big necks.
Very much, yes. I agree.
And some say that have had a lot of original ones that I think some were like that, but I think there were some 58s that weren't as big. So it's like all this stuff. I think there's room for variation. But anyways, he made this more like a typical 59 neck, which is not that much slimmer, but just a little more manageable. And it's fun to play. And then I also have a 54 gold top that's original. That's beautiful.
Wow. Guitar. With P90s or P?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
P90s. And I've been playing both of those again lately.
When'd you get that? That
I got about 4 or 5 years ago. I traded a guitar for it.
What'd you trade?
I traded. I had another Tele. I had a 55, I think it was, that I traded for it. And another Tele that was a really nice guitar, but I didn't need all of them.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. You ever trade a guitar you wish you can get back?
Yeah. I wish, I had an amp that I sold that I wish I never sold. It was an original AC-15.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. And right now I really want an AC-15. So I regret that. Guitar-wise, I wish I had some of the ones I had in the 70s back. I had some. But, nothing, not too much. Well, my 63 Tele was my first one. I sold it to my friend Mason, who I told you about.
Yeah.
I sold it to him when I was like, I've got my 53. I don't play the 63 anymore. About 5, 6 years later, I asked him to sell it back to me, which he did, which was very nice. So,
That's cool.
So I regretted it and got it back, which was nice.
That is cool. Do you have any cool stories about how you acquired any of your guitars?
Yeah, I mean, the 53, I had my 63 Telly. That was my only Telly. And I was at my brother's shop, and he said, "Oh, I just got this 53 and I hadn't played that many different Tellys then. This was a while ago. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." He's like, "Oh, you should play it. It sounds amazing." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And it hardly had any frets on it. He got a pretty good deal on it because it had like a neck pickup route that was filled back in, but nothing too major. And I played it even barely with any frets on it. And I couldn't believe it. Just like played it for a minute.
The 53 Telly you have.
Yeah, it was unbelievable sounding. I was like, "Oh, okay. What do I have to do?" And but I wouldn't have known. I mean, in that era in the Blackguard Tellys, there is a really different thing about them, especially from the '60s Tellys, and later, even the later '50s Tellys are kind of different.
These are the blonde ones with the black necks, right?
Like the butterscotch.
Yeah, butterscotch. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
And the black pickguard, and I've had like later '50s ones, which would have been like blonde with a white pickguard.
Okay.
That are also cool guitars, but they're very different sounding.
In what way?
They changed the bridge pickup. Like they had the flat pole pickups up until about 55.
Okay.
And I think that has something to do with it. Maybe just different wood, but the later ones are still great. They're the Blackguard early 50s ones have this big, thick, fat sound to them for a Telly especially, and that's kind of like and later on they got kind of more the leaner kind of Telly sound that's also great, but it's just a different thing.
Very cool, man. How do you think as a player, you talked about you're always trying to be a better player and that's what's in your control. How do you think you might have changed as a player in, say, the last 5 years?
I've been hopefully more relaxed. That's what I've been working on. That's one of the things I've been working on is, and to do that for me is consciously thinking about it and playing with a metronome, getting all the basics, and or playing to pieces of music or loops or whatever, and just focusing on that. And I hope that I feel like I'm getting there, in that area.
That's cool. Musically, if I asked you to pick your top 3 Desert Island discs in no particular order, and knowing that this could change tomorrow.
It'll change.
Yeah, right. Of course. That's like an impossible question to ask. What the first 3 CDs come to mind?
I did look at that question, and they did. I think it usually happens because I've been asked that kind of question in some way before, and I think about it, especially for like just early influence too, or what I heard early on that made an impact. And I think for me it would be Revolver, Let It Bleed, and the second album by the band, the Brown Record.
Yeah.
Those I just loved those as a kid, and I love them. It's like I appreciated them more the older I got.
Yeah, well, Let It Bleed by the Stones, that's got some.
I think
that's got some crazy music on it. The Brown album by the band. Let me see what that is.
That was Across the Great Divide, and Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, and Up on Cripple Creek.
Yeah, that's just called The Band.
It's just called The Band. Yeah.
Very cool, man.
The Brown album.
Do you have any heroes?
I wasn't sure about that one. I guess I don't. I might pass on that. I have maybe too many. I don't know. It's like I don't know if I could think of one person or a couple people that.
All good, man.
Yeah. Totally
all good. What's best childhood memory?
Oh man, I don't remember my childhood. It's so funny because I'll talk to other guys that were in my band in high school, and they remember all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, I kind of remember that. But, yeah, that was cool. I think just being I do have great memories about just being in the band and hanging out with friends and unloading gear at, my parents' house at, like, midnight, when we were kids.
Sure.
Trying and smoking weed, trying not to be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of.
So be the good vibes.
I had some great musical memories actually early on.
Like
that count? Like
yeah.
Music. I got to see Doc and Merle Watson when I was about 10. My friend Walter Crockett, who I was telling you about, whose band I played in, took me to see. There's a little place called Passim in Cambridge, which is a folk club. It's about 100 people. Must have been 1973. He took me to see Jackson Browne and David Lindley there.
Holy crap!
I think it must have been Jackson's second record.
Wow!
And
his early stuff is
so I was 12.
Phenomenal, isn't it?
And there's a good end to that story, because we just did some shows with Pete with Jackson a couple months ago, and I know some of the guys that play with him, and so when I got to meet him, it's totally nice. And I was like, gotta say, I used to try to like never engage people like that, just give them their space, try to be pro. But I was like, I gotta say, I saw you in 1973 at this little club in Cambridge called Passim. And it's like, and I was just, I'm sure you remember that. And he proceeded to recount what happened the rest of the night after that gig in detail. And I was just standing there going, it was like something about meeting somebody at the hotel afterwards. And then Lindley drove them both to New York because they were playing there the next night. It was freaky.
That is wild.
So either he's got an amazing memory, or he makes up stories.
Or he's totally bullshitting you. He just made your night.
It's like ready for anybody that says, "Yeah, you remember that show you did?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I did this and this." But it sounded pretty sincere. It was pretty funny.
Wow, that is pretty cool.
In fact, I told my friend Walter that took me there, and I wrote to him and I said, "You won't believe this," And he's like, "Wow, I don't even remember taking you that."
That's funny, man.
That's cool. And then I got to more of my brothers and their friends used to take me places. And when I was 12, I also saw the Grateful Dead in Boston.
Oh, so that was in 19.
Yeah, that was 73. I think same year maybe.
Wow. I saw them in 77. That's a pretty amazing band to go see back in those days, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that young too. It was really great to have seen that stuff.
Having all these older brothers and your sister sound like it really helped you musically.
Yeah. So like I said, I got firsthand, got to see band in my basement, and hear them practicing, and and then like I said, they all played. My oldest brother was kind of out of the house when I was younger, so but we see each other a lot now, because he's close by, and he has a guitar store also.
That's the one in Teaneck.
Not the reason I would like to see him. Yeah, that's one of the team.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, they're definitely a big influence on everything.
Something or someone you miss from your childhood?
I don't know about that one. I'd say I miss my friends, but we actually still are in touch. They're all over the country, but we managed to see each other, and that's always fun. We're actually might even get my high school band back together this year. There's been talk of that.
That's cool.
And that's never happened. And, I've seen kind of all of them here and there individually, but that would be cool. But yeah, I'm not sure that, there's anything else that, besides my folks who I miss all the time,
Sure.
That'd be a big hole or anything.
Cool. Tell me something about yourself people would either be surprised to hear or would find a little odd.
Oh, where do I start? Oh my God, I don't know about this one either. I'm not that weird, man. I don't think. I wish I was. What would they think was strange? Yeah, I'm so normal.
Maybe that's it. Strange.
That's my strength.
Yeah. Normal. No, that's that's what's strange.
Oh, that's what's strange.
Maybe that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. There you go. Most important person in your life?
Oh, that's another hard one. There's too many. My girlfriend and my family.
Cool.
As they're all amazing people.
Do you have a non-musical superpower?
I don't know if it's a superpower, but I can do a crossword puzzle.
New York Times?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, man.
I mean, there's a couple missed letters here and there, but I'm kind of avid at every day.
That's
Times crossword puzzle.
Really, that's pretty cool. I used to get the Daily News and get through them a couple of times, but I could never. The Times is another level of.
The Times, it is and it isn't. I mean, I think puzzle. It's one of those things like anything. If you do it a lot and do it all the time, you get better at it because, like, you do see some of the same clues and kind of get into the kind of vibe of it. But that's my.
Are you a big reader?
At times, when I'm on the road, I tend to read more, although not as much lately. I've been reading lately more biographies, like musical ones that I really like, and especially if I do read now, a lot of times it's before going to sleep, so I don't, you get that couple pages before you nod off.
Sure.
So the biographies have been really cool because you don't have to keep track of the plot.
Yeah.
But I did make my way through a bunch of like producers and musicians ones that I do like that a lot.
You read Greg Allman's?
I didn't.
It's phenomenal.
I want to get to that. I did read Duane Allman's daughter. Did you read that?
No,
one?
I didn't. Galadriel, was that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that?
Which was really good. I thought I didn't know what to expect, she didn't really know him. I mean, I think she was 1 or 2 when he died, but it was really good because she talked to everybody, and it was very interesting. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I'm kind of have Jeff Beck's, and it's really massive, and I'm just.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Well, he didn't write it.
Yeah,
he didn't write it. He's a pretty private guy, I think, and but I'll tell you, I interviewed Jennifer Batten, and she had some pretty cool Jeff Beck stories.
Oh, cool!
And I think
saw her play with him.
Well, she was with him for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think her interview's coming out in the next week or so. So she had some good stories about Beck.
Oh, cool!
Oh my God!
He's one of my favorites for sure.
It's nuts what he does. I mean, it's yeah. Well, I was pretty impressed when you said you're playing at 17 in a Jeff Beck style. That was pretty. that had my ear right away.
All right. Well, hopefully, I am thinking I want to record this thing when I get enough that's worth putting on the record. So
good.
Let you know if that happens.
Yeah, please do, man. Come back on the show and we'll promote it.
All right.
What are you proudest of?
Musically, I guess I'm proud of my records, and I'm proud of the Peter Wolf records that I've been involved in his thing, and a bunch of others too. I mean, that's just musically speaking. I guess that's where I would think I'd be proud of something. Proud of my sister. I don't know if it's. I have an amazing sister who was a 4-time cancer survivor.
Wow.
As well as many. She has been kicked in the ass by life, and she's doing amazingly well right now.
Good for her.
So
glad to hear that.
Really, she's an inspiration for sure.
That's nice, man. I'm gonna ask you 3 more questions. I appreciate everything. Yeah. Any hobbies or interests outside of music?
No. The crossword puzzles.
The crossword puzzles.
Beaches. My girlfriend's into beaches, so I do enjoy that.
Beaches in Boston?
No. I do like the Caribbean. We tend to go down there, and that's been fun.
Where'd you go in the Caribbean, man? You ever go to Turks and Caicos? Have you been there?
We've been twice.
It's nice there, isn't it?
Beautiful.
I really liked it there, man.
Yeah, we've been to Turks and Caicos, a couple of the out islands in the Bahamas that were really beautiful. Tend to go where there's not much.
Yeah.
Just that's what we like. And where else? We've been to Guana Island, which is kind of near St. Thomas in that area. And yeah, she usually takes care of all that stuff, but that's been kind of fun.
Do you bring your guitar with you?
No.
You don't. So that's nice. That's a really unwind for you. It's a big unwind.
Yeah. And I definitely find like going without for a week or so, or 5 days, 7 days, it can be really great to come when you come back playing. I really think it's important to, I don't usually do that unless I'm away.
So you miss it more when you come back and you enjoy it.
Well, it's just kind of like there's something about not doing it at all.
Yeah.
For like at least a week, yeah, maybe little of the chops goes, day by day. But I feel like I get really inspired when I come back from that on the instrument.
How long have you been with your girlfriend? You mentioned her several times.
We have been together 20 years.
Good for you,
so
man. Awesome. Congratulations.
We don't know what to call ourselves. Yeah, we never got married, but,
I don't know that that's important. I mean,
No.
I know plenty of people.
I was married once, and it was okay, but neither of us, I guess, we don't have kids. Neither of us feels like it's the most important thing.
I know a lot of people that are married that are pretty fucking miserable, so I don't know that, like...
Yeah, it does. That's what I realized, that doesn't make you...
No, God,
somebody,
no.
Obviously, it's like, so, right now, we're not, but everything but,
What, fuck you don't know that, you don't owe an explanation to anybody either.
Yeah, exactly.
Screw that.
But she's amazing, and I'm lucky. We have an amazing, happy existence here, and I'm lucky.
I'm gonna write that down. I have an amazing, happy existence here.
It's true.
No, I like that. That's really cool,
Yeah.
and that's really cool, and it's nice to hear. And that's going to be the title of your episode. That's why I wanted to write it down, because that's a really cool thing.
Right.
What's the most important lesson your business has taught you?
That's an interesting one. I think there's a lot, and I'm not sure there's one thing, but I think observing lots of different people in doing music, I think it's not a surprise, and most people will say the same thing, that the people that are genuinely, I don't know what the word is, nice or good. I mean, I don't know, just being able to just get along in a real way with lots of different people is obviously is a huge trait. It's just something that you really need to have, and also some of the players that I admire the most have that quality. Not everybody, but of course, I guess what I'm saying is like just affirming that, like, you just be a good person, just be nice to people and get along, and whatever that means. And that's kind of, I think, how people kind of persevere. Playing music is one of the big qualities I think you need to have.
Yeah, I think
that's not a secret. I think people know that, and it's obvious, but not always.
And last question, Duke, what's been the biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years?
Well, I like to say that a friend of mine reminds me of this all the time. I like to say we get more like ourselves as we get older. So I'm not sure I've changed that much, but hopefully I'm more tolerant of everything. And not that I was ever an intolerant person, but I try to have more patience with stuff that might bug me.
So you've made a conscious effort to be more patient.
I think so. I think it's like, I think getting older, I think is well,
you realize you're not the center of the universe.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
a really
you realize
nice,
you're not the center of the universe, and also you realize a lot of the stuff you thought was really important is so unimportant, and you see people you love go and aren't around anymore at any given moment, and it's like the little things, I try not to let little things bug me as much as they may have in the past, because I realize that's not what the important thing in life is.
Hey, this is Craig. After the interview ended with Duke Levine, he asked me to include this really cool story about Peter Wolf. So here it is. Enjoy.
Okay, so the Wolf story I always tell is one of the first. I think it was when I first started playing with him. We were doing an event out in Utah for Sundance, the film festival.
Sure.
There was a blues series on PBS that Martin Scorsese did. So it was an event for that out at Sundance. And we were playing with Wolf's band, big, huge function room, tons of people, bars set up all over the place, and we were playing the Giles tune, "Give It to Me."
Mm-hmm. You
and,
got to give it.
Yeah,
yeah.
And we're playing. When it gets to the solo, he leaves the stage. He's got a wireless mic, and he's talking to the audience. We're playing, and then we're vamping. I think he's singing he comes back with the chorus after the solo. He's singing somewhere. We can't even see him because there's tons of people. Finally, he gets back up on stage, and he's got a beer for each of us.
How cool is that?
Was out there singing the song.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So I was like, I think this is going to be good. I think I can play with this guy.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's a really cool story.
Yeah, it's because it's kind of really telling about him too.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for sharing that. Well, man, I really appreciate you, and I'm really glad we got to chat, and thank you so much for sharing some of yourself, man. Let me tell people how to find you and how to send you money. First of all, it's Robert Duke Levine, and he's got 5 instrumental albums out. His last album, it was about a year ago, called The Fade Out. Check it out. It's available on iTunes and all the usual places. Again, that's The Fade Out. I also found out after the phone call that Duke played all the guitar parts or a significant amount of guitar work on Mary Chapin Carpenter's album, which is actually coming out this month. And I wanted to let you know because you should check that album out and check out Duke's playing on it. He's got a on and off residency right now. It's at Atwood's in Cambridge in Massachusetts, so you can check him out there. Go say hello. Well, I mean, I'm thinking it's okay to go say hello, right? I don't want to be. Hey,
I'll say hello to them.
I heard you. And everything that he's doing, you can find on DukeLevine.com. He's got a really nice website there, actually. And it's got all his playing. Hopefully, be out on the road with Peter Wolf soon, and people could check you out there, or with Jay Giles if they get back together. Any parting words of wisdom, man?
Boy, in the words of Viv Savage from Spinal Tap, have a good time all the time.
There you go, man. Duke, thanks so much for everything. I really appreciate it. You're a good guy. I'm glad we got to talk. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Please go check out Duke Levine. It's DukeLevine.com. Check out The Fade Out, and check him out in Cambridge at his residency right now, which is in Atwoods. I hope you all enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Duke, thanks again so much for spending time with us. I really appreciate it. And go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified about future episodes, along with some cool stuff for guitar players. Now, be nice, go play your guitar, and most important, have fun. Till next time, peace and love, and I am out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.